We now cross live to SABC News reporter Natasha Phiri, and she has been covering the first convention which took place at UNISA today. Natasha, thank you so much for your time. Maybe let's start off here. I mean, there was much criticism when it comes to this specific national convention. We saw a number of foundations, the legacy foundations, beginning to pull out of this specific planning for the convention. Maybe give us a wrap of what transpired today, particularly because of the much criticisms we saw building up to this event.
Well, you're certainly right, Mbali. I think you've just actually taken all the words, out of my mouth. Just mentioning those legacy foundations, Mbali, I just want to bring your attention, you and your viewers, to this. They've released a statement saying that there will be a briefing on Wednesday, and of course, they will then, those 8 foundations will tell the nation what they think about this. But of course, they've also released in another statement, Mbali, saying that they are not involved in this UNISA gathering, and they actually implore and reiterate that all those who are actually involved in this 2-day national convention must make sure that it is credible and it is citizen-led. And of course, we'll get reaction from Professor Lesiwe Tifo and Uyologazi Mfuto. Prof, perhaps if I can just start off with you, what do you think? There's this now, the statement by these 8 legacy foundations saying that they'll be briefing the nation on Wednesday. But of course, they've said that they are not involved in this process. They will not take part in this process. And they've implored all who are here today to ensure that this is citizen-led and this is a credible process. What do you make out of that?
Well, I think it's a repeat of what they said yesterday and also. Okay, whatever the reason now for the repeat, I do not know. But what do we really mean when it must be citizens-led? I don't want to beat about the bush. Personally, I don't think this dialogue is necessary. It's not. Precisely because what it wants to achieve, about 50,000 interviews across the country. Wait, in the most rural areas of Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and Northern Cape, the uneducated, the illiterate, the average Joe in the street knows his or her problems. They want security. They want jobs. They want safety. They don't want potholes. Now, do you need to sit under a marula tree to get an answer to that? I just want to go straight to what the issues are and what the people think. Lo and behold, this roundabouts across the country is likely to be boycotted by the people. People are much smarter now than they were in 1994.
And of course, we'll park it there. We'll come back to some of those issues that you raised. Guys, what do you think? Do you perhaps think that maybe a parallel process will run, as the national dialogue is actually taking place? Do you think that these legacy foundations will have their own program, perhaps, that they'll be running?
Well, thank you, Natasha, for having me. Firstly, now the dialogue is becoming about personalities, right? It's people who's leading it. And even the foundations themselves, I'm kind of critiquing them in their posture. For them to release 2 statements subsequently, talk about the same thing, and it's as if they're trying to fight on who's in charge of this dialogue. If then it's for citizens themselves, why don't let citizens just do it themselves, right? Because I do want to believe that there is a need for a dialogue, right, since 1994, because there are a lot of things that are bottled up by South Africans. Anger, they need healing. They need to actually have a voice in terms of how does the budget work? How do we get services and end? They are disillusioned by government, so they need a space where they can ventilate. But in terms of who's driving it, I think government and the foundations, they are fighting, and when elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers.
Now, let's go to the crux of some of the themes that were discussed here. I think for me, what stood out are the theme of a dynamic, inclusive economy, jobs and livelihoods. I mean, this comes at a time where our unemployment rate has actually just risen to 33.40%, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, what's interesting is that some of the themes, the issues that were raised here by the people inside, as we all know those issues, government knows those issues. You look at the National Development Plan, which is coming to an end in 2030. It's basically the same thing that was actually raised inside there. Why is government not doing anything, or why has government not done anything? And I mean, these are some of the issues that have been raised by the delegates inside. Guys, I'll start with you, then I'll come to you.
Yes, so interestingly, I attended one of the grouping on state capacity. issues that raise there, the fact that our politicians, our leaders are uneducated, they don't have political will, they don't have interest of the people. So as much as these are in the NDP and the Medium Development Plan, but the people we have at the helm of decision making don't have interest of doing those things. So things are going to come from this dialogue. Probably they'll say, we don't want this current leadership. What then happens after that? And two, who do we put into leadership? Because now the current political climate is just populist. If you have the loudest voice, you get elected into power. But this dialogue and the outcomes would change the kind of fabric we use to elect leadership. So I do think that as much as we have all the challenges, but the citizens, they know exactly how we can change the wheel around, and maybe the issues of unemployment as well will be addressed if there's political will, less corruption, and actually there's a need to address all these issues.
Prof, you heard what Yolokazi had to say. These issues are known by our leaders. You've heard what people had to actually say, that this is nothing new. It's in the NDP. We're 5 years away from 2030. The hope is that, after this national dialogue, there'll be a social compact. And through this social compact, the social compact will then take forward, government policies or the plans for the country. What do you see actually happening? I mean, you go through the NDP, it says, according to the NDP, unemployment should be around 6% in 2030. We are at 33.20%.
Yeah, it's a pity, ma'am. We are mesmerized at times by their concepts that sounds novel to those that are not fairly well read. There's nothing new that we are saying that was not said 30 years ago. We keep repeating the things. I attended 3 sessions this afternoon. I listened to the people speak, especially the young ones. They are representative from the communities, from the provinces. They say what the government knows and what I also know. And you want to spend about 500 or 700 million rand to go and listen to the things that you know and the people have told you. And here today, we can close the proceedings here. What was said and begin implementation. But as she says, lack of political will. They are obsessed with self-preservation. They are obsessed, the compradors, those that fought for the liberation, with self-preservation and not the other. I wonder where Chris Hani is. I wonder where Mandela is. Wherever they are looking down on us, what we have done. We have done far worse than the homeland system. We have done far worse than the apartheid system. And this, we must look each other in the eye and be honest with each other. Things are worse off. We keep talking and talking and talking, but things are not improving. We have the National Development Plan. Whatever outcome of these proceedings, 80% of it is already contained. What I heard today is what is known in the villages. Go to Nkuankua, Umlazi, Nyanga or Langa, Mahikeng. People know what their problems are and the solutions they want. One, they don't want cadre deployment. They want people to be appointed on merit. The elephant in the room. People are saying, manage the borders. There are too many foreigners in the country. South Africa thinks is the best and the only people who understand human rights under the sun. There is no country that doesn't manage migration. There is legislation. If the law is made for man, man is not made for the law. Once the laws of your land no longer serve your people, even if that paper is called the Constitution, change it so that it can serve the people.
So, guys, this is definitely not a kumbaya moment. People are speaking truth to power in these commissions, and like you've been saying that, these are issues that we are aware of. Do you think that the leaders are actually really listening this time around? Prof says that what's needed is political will. Do you think that the leaders are considering that, listen, yes, we've been in government for so long, not much has changed, but maybe, is this a Damascus moment perhaps?
No, definitely. From the president's address, he was making jokes about people not participating here, making mockery, asking rhetorical questions on why don't we have healthcare. Those were patronizing questions to citizens because they're at the helm of power and yet to make fun of our problems, right? So there's no political will, even the posture from their movement in this place, the self of importance. They are so important for this dialogue themselves. So it's not necessarily that they're going to change anything. I don't see that even if we have the outcome from dialogue, this current leadership, I don't have faith in that they will change any of the circumstances that we find ourselves in South Africa right now.
And just briefly, before we wrap, 30 seconds each, what do you think needs to happen?
We need implementation. South Africa, and this thing that we don't have money for things. We have money for national dialogue today to ship people from wherever they come from to come and have dialogue of sort, right? So we need to appropriate funds correctly. We need to fund the public service entities. State apparatus are not working. State enterprises are not working. People are jobless. Youth are educated now, but they don't have jobs. Crime is rampant. People are taking law into their own hands. People don't have faith in government. So it's a matter of change in personalities themselves, personalities as the leaders, and secondly, ensuring that services are done.
Prof?
Yes, look, you are saying what needs to be done. Are they listening? Yes, if they don't listen, it's fine, well and good. The people will do to them what they did in 2004. No doubt about it. They will make them listen, right? They will find a way to make them listen. That's one. Number two, there are 4 or 5 points for the past 20 years I've been talking about. Change the electoral act so that the people of South Africa can elect their leaders. Ours is not a democracy, it's a quasi-democracy. In the 30 years, have you ever had a day where you stand in the queue to elect your president? That's one. Number two, deal with the problem of migration. Number 3, do away with cadre deployment. 4, BBE, affirmative action. Affirmative action was never intended, and this as much was said by Matlante, to be more than 10 years. It was an intervening measure. And if we can, let's remove this concept called transformation. The original meaning and the intention was good, but it has been so much corrupted that everything is done in the name of transformation, and the more we transform, the worse things become.
Our better minds in studio, thank you so much. Of course, we'll leave it here, Mbali. That was Uyologa Zimfuto and Professor Lisiba Tefo. Just wrapping up the first day of the National Convention. A lot was said, but from our guests, what needs to be done is implementation. Only then will things actually turn around here in our country.